All right, so in this one, what we're going to do is we're going to still stay in curves, but we're going to look at how color works inside of curves. So let's go ahead and get another curves dialog box here. And I'm going to go inside the reds. So the same thing applies that it did using the RGB channel that was in there. So as I move this up, the red, so I'm in the corner of the black channel, you can see I add more reds into my shadow, which is really interesting. So let's see if I move it to the right. I actually add the opposite. I'm adding more cyan into my shadows. Okay, let's take that back. Now, if I take from my highlights and I drag my highlights down, I'm actually taking out red in my highlights. If I take the corner of my highlights and move it to the left, you can see I'm putting more red in my highlights. So you can really make some really nice simple color adjustments, right? So let's say I wanted to add more red into the shadow. Let's say with the green, I also wanted it a little bit higher up, right? So all of a sudden that has a certain effect to it. Let's go to the blue and let's add, so as I pull down, you can see there adds more yellow. So now I have this image that I've toned in a different way. So let's turn that off. Let's do another example. Let's say that you wanted to, right? So let's play around with this a little bit. There's no prescribed way that I'm kind of looking at this. I'm just kind of playing around. Let's say we'll grab the midtones and we'll bring that up. And let's take the blue and pull that down. You can see I get this more orange tone that's coming over top, which is kind of interesting. All right. So you can see when you do a contrast to this. So let's take that red again. You see that mid-tone, right? Tone that red. But when I did blue in the opposite direction, right? Because it added more yellow when I did this, the yellow and the red mixed together to form orange, which I think is interesting. As I pull the blue higher up, you can see I get a more bluer tone overall. And let's say you wanted to change that. You can see how I can really force highlights or other effects in there. So let's pull this down. And you can see now I'm getting some yellow kind of in the background because I'm pulling that down, which is kind of interesting. That's more yellow, but we bring it over here, we get a little bit more blue. Okay, these are just things to try. I'm just showing you kind of the way that curves really is making this adjustment. Let's say in blue, this is actually one of my favorite with this image, is we're going to take this and I'm going to actually infuse more blue into the shadows, which I think is actually really interesting. And let's say I take red, and pull red down, you can see I can get a little bit more blue in there. Let's take green, let's move green up, let's move green down. Oh, I kind of like where that's going. Well, it's going to red. Let's actually pull that down, and I want to actually, okay, so I could tone that bluer, maybe not. Let's move this over here. You can see I can get more red in there. You can say, all right, well, I like where that's going. That's putting more blue in. So you can see you can really start to play with how this is working inside of your one document. Now, in some other tutorials after this, I'm going to show you how you can really kind of do some interesting things with multiple curves adjustment layers kind of on top of each other. So that's what we're going to look at next.